All right. Hello,
Bye,
everyone. Hey, Pedro. Oh my God. See, look,
Pedro.
this is
Pedro.
Pedro. So already tired.
It's
Anyway,
it's great.
thank you for psyching me up. We're a little bit late because he was getting me pumped up. I definitely need lots of energy. But thank you for joining us today. We're kicking off the next segment of our last day of the virtual summit. We're talking about Goal 13, which is climate action. Today, we're joined by Pedro Gomes, all the way from Portugal.
Portugal.
And he's the founder of Possibility, which he will tell you a little bit more about. But the reason I'm more excited for all of you to hear from him is because I believe he has a very interesting perspective to what all of us can do when it comes to climate action. So, Pedro, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Cool. So yeah, first of all, Nimisha and everyone involved, thank you so much. I cannot imagine how intense this 5 journey is. So we're just about the end. So I'll try to project good vibes and good energy. And like I was listening to the previous panels, and I'm just like pumped up. I just want to go run and do so many things. And I was just like I really appreciated like this last talk on the revival. And I mean, there's so many like snippets in because it's also kind of a design story. So really, really, really excited. And so yeah, just to introduce and to have a good conversation. So I think I'll start with what I'm not. So I'm not a scientist. I haven't been working in sustainability for the last 50 years. We've been working on a lot of tech for good projects and sustainability driven projects for a while. But I think my story today, which I'm hoping is more like a story of transformation, a story of decision making at a personal level and at a professional level, and just an open conversation of what that means in this big story of a big reset. So I'll start, the first thing. Can you hear me well, Nimisha?
Yeah,
Because I just got
yeah,
like the
you're good.
connection is unstable.
No, no,
Okay,
you're
great.
good.
Great. So, I'll start my story with first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, and like we're going through this personal family transformation of resetting the way we consume, which completely connects with what the revival conversation was all about, the way we behave. I think real change needs to start close to your heart. And the first circle is your personal journey, and then your family, and then your friends, and then your professional. So we're starting really at the core. So we've been going through this, zero waste transformation, is a journey, is not a destination. So we're, keep improving every day and try to do a little bit better than we did yesterday every day. So I always keep this next to me, which was my Father's Day gift, which our kid and my mother,
That is so
his
cute.
mother, my wife did. And it was all made out of nature. And it's always sitting next to my desk. And I think real change starts at the core with your family and the way you behave, and hopefully that sort of inspires others within our closest circle to take some of those actions as well. And like I was trying to find the right word in English. Like in Portuguese is inquieto, and I guess in English is restless. Like I think I'm a restless leader and a person. And like as I was saying, I was listening to the two talks before, and I'm just like, I want to go, I want to run, I want to do stuff, I want to collaborate. I already took some notes on how we can do some cool things with revival for sharing our social media. I studied in the School of Architecture in Lisbon, and I have a lot of friends that are, very well positioned in the fashion industry here in Portugal. So, like connecting people, I think is a big part of what I love to do. And I think so from a restless trying to inspire and sort of connect the right people. And I really love what you guys are doing here, and the impact that it's having is like huge. I think I told you yesterday, but I've given some invitations to some people, and like two or three people came back to me, and they're just saying like, Pedro, like this event just like changed my life. Like,
Oh,
I'm gonna act. I'm gonna stop a little bit. I'm gonna process all of this, and then I'm gonna change the game. And so I think
half the program team's probably done a little bit of a cheer wherever they are.
it was
So
like, woo!
you're like, woo, yes.
So hopefully that gives you like energy and
Yes.
inspiration for, a lot of the things that you're going to do in the future. And hopefully we get to do some cool stuff together. And, like, I think we're in a moment, and you were saying in the call before, it's up to us, to the people, to lead this and to do it. So this idea to connect more people, to collaborate, and then the focus is not I'm doing better than you or you're doing better than me, is like we're all focused on the impact, right? Like the focus should be on the impact and not the fact that I'm doing better or not than you. So I'll talk a little bit about that kind of like personal journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, from a business perspective, like I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a designer, I'm a system thinker, and I think you're gonna talk about that. And I've founded a few companies. Some succeeded, some failed, like in a lot of different industries. And Possibility is the brand, and that was born of a rebranding of Pedro Gomes Design that was running for about 8 years here in Portugal. After I worked in Germany, San Francisco, I started a company in Portugal in the middle of the financial crisis in 2012 to really use design and innovation to help companies innovate and especially go international. So Pedro Gomes Design was born out of Pedro Gomes, as a designer, initially as a freelancer, and then it continues to grow. And then Possibility was the next step, where we're building a brand that other people can participate more, that is not my name, that also is not associated to the artist, or how do you call it, like kind of like unique artist designer that designs chairs or lamps, to more like the strategic development that we're doing in the work that we've been doing in the last 8 years. We worked in from ranges of education, retail, robotics, healthcare. So like really wide spectrum of work, where we brought design, branding, and marketing as a strategic value. And Possibility is born in the middle of the COVID situation. Like we were in the rebranding process for about 2 years. Like I've took the leap and sort of do the rebranding from the inside out. Everyone in the team had a lot of participation. Every voice was heard, everyone was involved. And as you probably know, that's sort of a transformative long process. I say usually now that we've finalized that process, I look back and I say like it was a visceral journey, because I put myself in a situation where we're listening to everyone's opinions, and then we're transforming that into a brand vision and a brand strategy. And Possibility was launched about a month ago. Like 1st of July was the month milestone, and was launched on 1st of June to remind us every year. It was launched on the World's Children's Day to remind us every year that everything we create and everything that we design or build or help grow will impact every future generation. And I think it's a milestone because it will keep us reminding every year of the things that we want to do, and most importantly, the things we don't want to do. And from a business perspective, we're looking forward to report to the world every milestone of every year, the things we've done in the last year. So it becomes transparent and it becomes open, because I believe this sustainability and impact driven mission is not something that you figure out from day one and then in day two you're like, this is it. Like it's a transformation journey.
Yeah.
And it needs to be humble, and needs to be act based, and it needs to be continuous improvement based. So I think also a value of this event is you listen to so many stories that you always transform that into something that you can do a little bit better. Like I think from those who are already acting, I think that's like an amazing value.
Yeah. No.
So just to come down to what is Possibility. So Possibility is a design and growth agency focusing on businesses that really believe in the power of brand and business and design to help build a more healthy and sustainable future. So we have these two tracks, which are health and sustainability, knowing that they're still quite open and diverse, and we're using the network and the people that are on board of our journey to understand, what's our path in these two verticals and what's the type of work that we want to do. And we help clients design, build, and grow. So we put strategy, design, branding, and marketing together as an integrated approach, because our business was built in the foundation that, and I think I'll reflect on, I think a fact that we've learned during COVID that also helps reflect on that, which is, building just a great product or a service is not enough.
No.
You can have something amazing, but if you don't design your experience, and if you don't reach to your audience, and if you don't build your brand, and if you don't reach the people that really understand what you're doing and are willing to pay for it and buy it and use it and serve it, it's not going to grow. It's not going to have the impact that you want to generate. And I think a learning I had during COVID was exactly that. I was a bit frustrated in the initial growth, specifically in Europe, because I think each country had sort of a different phase out or a phase in. There was a lot of invention around a lot of masks and face shields and all of these things that the world didn't need invention. The world needed open source solutions that are able to be industrialized at scale and reach the people. So the ability to reach people and increase your audience and increase the people you serve is more fundamental than the reinvention of the wheel or some of the things that we're trying to reinvent all the time. So my role, what I did personally was I didn't push my company to design something new. I use our resources to focus on our clients and help them see ahead what, after what's happening is an opportunity for our clients using our marketing intelligence teams. And then also use my personal network to connect the people, not reinvent, but connect people. There's someone doing a ventilator, then let me connect that person to the ventilator needs. And, so we bridge the gap. And so, just coming back, so design, build, and grow. And why we do this, or why I always like to start with, kind of the golden circle approach, the why, the how, and the what. And the why that sort of guides us and will guide us as a North Star, and it's quite an ambitious one, is that we are looking forward to design, build, and grow a future we are proud to share with all the children and also leave for all future generations. And I think from a branding perspective, when we transformed our why into something that we don't own, but we are responsible to. And I was listening to this designer as a designer, or designer as a responsible designer. I hope that's kind of like a transformation that's going on. So that's kind of like our North Star, to keep asking, are we doing the right things? Are we doing something that we own and we respect and we believe will help build a better future? And I really connected with your YouTube talk, which I recommend everyone to listen to, which is Sustainability in Business. Please go to YouTube and see Nimisha talking about it, because it's really great. And I spent 40 minutes listening to it the day before yesterday. And, you were asking people what is sustainability? And I was like, that's a good question. So I guess if you ask people what is design, everyone has a different answer in a way, because it's growing so much, and sustainability, it's just an open topic. And then someone intervened and said, sustainability is us leaving a planet a better place than when we found it. And, that idea of the fact that sustainability at the end is leaving the planet a better place for all the future generations that will come in. So that was very inspiring as well. And I think that sort of connects a lot with our why. And yeah, just coming down to the how, I've already mentioned, design, build, and grow, to really not just help create, but help the ones who create to reach their audiences and increase their impact. So, this has a lot to do with approach of collaboration. We're looking forward to work with companies that are in the same mission, and that, the energy and the resilience and the restlessness to really help them reach where they want to reach. When I was listening to Revival project, I was like, it makes so sense in a lot of things, and it makes no sense in a lot of the things that the world is doing and deploying, things that just don't make sense from a cultural and on the spot perspective. So I hope this also helps enable a rethinking of we need to be more thoughtful of what's happening on the ground to make sure that if we're trying to support, we should support in a way that is relevant for the communities and the local communities. Although I love the revival thought, which is this is a problem, maybe we're not going to stop it, so let's transform it into something that is relevant for our communities.
I mean, I think just to interject on that, what Yara doesn't realize he's doing is creating a closed loop. But I didn't want to kind of throw that in there because, that in itself is self-serving and, we want to break that cycle. But from, you're an innovation mind, I'm an innovation mind. I was like, oh, you're just creating a closed loop, Yara. It's cool.
Yeah.
But then, everyone, it's kind of like what you said. In order to solve a lot of these problems, we really need to have situational contextual
Yeah.
understanding, and that's why I love what you talk about where you say it starts with your own internal family unit or the nucleus that you live within is where all the work really begins.
And I know I'm just going to give visibility here to like a few, at least from my personal network. Like, I don't know if you know, Think Place is a design and innovation agency. Like one of the managing directors is a really great friend, Anna. So, they're like on the ground, like making sure that whatever nonprofit work that's being done is directly implemented and connected with the audience, with the culture, so they're present in many cities. So I think making sure that there's a bridge between what's happening in our world and what is being deployed in other places, like I think this bridge needs to be gapped, because then the value will be continuously immense. Not wanting to refer to exactly what revival is doing, is transforming a problem that's being generated by another problem and then making a solution out of that and completely connected with the community. So I think it's an amazing example. So the what is we cross design, branding, and marketing. And this is us designing products and services that people love, but the planet loves as well. And like I think I'm speaking this in a very humble, we're not the experts. We are on a mission to become or collaborate with the experts, but there's a model which is being led by a company, if I'm not incorrect. I'm not sure if it's Finland or Sweden, but so it's called planet-centric model, which is like a design model that is run around the question of what is best for the planet and not what is best for the human, right? So this human-centric model, which it's an evolution, like I think just recognizing that needs to change.
Yeah.
So what is best for the planet, and like how can we design things that are better for the planet but also great for people? And so I really connect with the talk previously to the revival, which is how do brands play a game in changing consumer behavior? How do brands take the burden? And that we were also talking in a revival, like you guys are taking like the burden, you're not just a designer, right? Like you're taking the burden of culture, of change, of like feminism, like all of these like things that you're willing to take on, so you create solutions that people can enter and participate and buy into. So I think making sure that we're also looking, and in our second pillar is designing brands that people want to participate in, that people want to be part of. I think this is really a core element of our work. And I've been sort of transforming. I think I tagged you on LinkedIn on like I'm trying to be quite active on LinkedIn in a more kind of a discussion focused and collaboration and thought sharing platform. Like I believe brands need to transform themselves to be agent platforms.
Absolutely.
And this I don't know what's your opinion on this, but like I think there's two ways. There are the companies that will transform themselves to be agent platforms, and there are the companies that are ready built to be agent platforms. And this means like you got to take all the burden and the complexity of solving like complex problems and then offering like simple solutions to your audience and to your clients that they can understand, because this is like it's a really complex world. So I don't know, like maybe you want to build on top of that.
I mean, I think I think we live in a funny time where we have a culmination of challenges that pile on top of each other. So it's,
True.
even for brands, and I'm speaking from my work, which is spending a lot of time with these executives to navigate these problems and come up with solutions, right? So you described it perfectly well. You're trying to solve a series of complex problems with very simple solutions. And so often people, when they experience that solution, forget the level of complexity you've gone through to get to that point. So I think when we want brands to be, like you said, either agents by virtue of the fact that they exist and are able to do that, or to just advocate for the change, I think the problem becomes that everyone is very focused on linearizing every solution, right? So if I went, for example, I don't know, Stella McCartney, and I said, go look at what Yara is doing in Ghana, take some of that product, do something with it. Does she have agency? Absolutely. Does she have the ability to, do something about it? She does, because she has privilege, the voice, all of those things. The question becomes, does she understand then how to translate this complexity to her market, to her consumer? And that's where that disparity becomes, right? These brands have spent 10, 15 years, lots of money building a narrative that has cultivated an audience of a certain type. Now, if they have to shift that overnight, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think helping people navigate that level of agency where you're trying to teach them, or at least like what I said in my talk on YouTube, which was, first of all, consumers don't know what they want. This is like something I'll stand behind from day one, because did we need an iPod? No, we all started buying it when it became something to own, right? We didn't, there's so many things. I'm not saying tech is bad. I love tech, but I'm just trying to illustrate that when as consumers, we don't really know what we want. So if we're trying to shift that brand narrative, actually, it's more about what you say, or the 4 things you guys do at Possibility, which is, changing the strategy, then deciding how do you engage the audience, educating them along the way about why this is relevant to them. And the one that most brands always forget, which is, still keeping a sense of identity of the original self, because otherwise you fundamentally lose the audience. Like you just drop. And one thing, just my last point, my pet peeve when it comes to execs talking about these topics, they'll be like, okay, well, you know what, we'll just ditch this audience that we've built over the last 10 years and we'll go and get a completely new one. And I'm like, why do you want to do that? Oh, well, we'll just go after the millennial or Gen Zers because they get it. And I'm like, well, so what about all the other people who don't get it? So now you're just going to dump them and not do something for them. And it's those sorts of things, I think, create the bigger problems when it comes to why we can't tackle all of these challenges.
Cool. I'm just taking some notes here so I can build like cool. I had some thoughts around that as well. So yeah, I think just building on top, like just immediately like what you're saying, like the old and the new, right? I think in this transformation journey, brands need to play 2 games. They will need to cater or serve in the transformation journey. There will be an audience that completely understands, everything and is already there. It's acting. It will enable. But we need to stay close to the audience that does not understand and that needs to be transformed as well, or inspired to be transformed. And I think the loop is making sure that you're here. And I believe, like from a personal level, like you need to use this example to inspire that example, because people believe in other people and what other people do, right? Like that's a reality of everything. So I think this event also helps do that, which is like inspire with examples. So, lead by example and then feed that kind of like information, case studies, examples, talks, whatever, and then like make sure that this loop, you're bringing more old people into the new people. So that comes with our third. So you build, you design something great, and that can be a product, can be a service. You create a brand where that those objects or their services serve and connect with your audience. But how do you build that relationship? Because that's exactly what you're saying. Like you need to connect with your audience and you need to engage with your audience. So that's where our marketing approach comes into, with a big focus on content and digital marketing and the strategy, which is, make sure that whatever you design and build is not only built around your audience, but connects with your audience and is able to keep evolving, right? Like I was writing like some of the topics that we were discussing today, and like I came to a conclusion that the way we work is progress centric. Like it's not going to be like done, deploy, leave, like it's progress centric. It needs to be continuous improvement, progress centric.
Yeah.
You need to understand, and you need to build a team, and our clients understand that it's an approach to deploy, iterate, learn, deploy, iterate, learn. So this ability to go progress centric is how you continuously loop the learnings of the news and bring the old into the news, and also being able to transform and be an agent to more people. So that's where our marketing kind of approach comes into. So it allows our clients and the clients we work with to be able to go from an idea or an insight all the way to design, create the brand. And this, we work with clients that are either in the process of rebranding or branding a new venture or a new initiative, and being able to do it in an integrated, that's how we call it, approach, instead of a waterfall, sequential, slower approach, and to bring multidisciplinary, like-minded people that can think product, branding, and marketing in the same time and in the same kind of mindset and flow. So that's kind of like just high level what
No,
we do at Possibility.
I think that's very strong. And it's something that often gets overlooked. I understand it because, like you, I work with clients in a different ilk, but what you highlight is the fundamental foundation of any kind of change that we're eliciting, right? So it's really powerful that you do that. And then coming on to the other element of what inspires you on climate action, which is more of your own personal experience or your what you call your origin story.
Cool. Yeah, sure. So I think, from a just coming back to the topic, which was a father and a designer entrepreneur perspective on climate action and not words. So I think my life and my mindset as a leader is really focused on using the words to drive action. So I think action centric and action focused approach is like fundamental, because if we don't use words to drive action, the words are just words. And so I think everything that I do in life is really focused on whatever I say needs to be focused on the things that I do, knowing that that will continuously change and improve. So, my climate action and origin story is a personal journey and then a professional journey. So I think, this idea of being more thoughtful, and I took a note here on the revival conversation, which was, design has a really important process impact on the waste or the less good impact that we generate. So, like we were like when we were Pedro Gomez Design, which was the company before Possibility, like it's been in our DNA for quite a while that we are a lot more thoughtful on the projects we take on, the type of projects we work with, the type of people we work with as well. So there was kind of already, it's not something new. This was in our DNA, I would say, for the last 2 to 3 years. And my company, Pedro Gomez Design, was built with a tagline which was driven by great challenges. Like my vision and our vision was, the harder it is to get done, the more excited we get. Like it was this like, yeah, we want to take like hard things to do, hard things to solve, complex things, and then just being able to transform them and making them happen. What happened with Possibilities, all this power and all of this ambition and passion is like focused on one purpose-driven impact, which is health and sustainability. So I think that was kind of our journey. Just I'm hoping that one of what I was mentioning, I'm hoping that this conversation like sort of inspires other people to take action. And like I've done a lot of conferences, I've never done like live webinars. So I have an approach in the conference, which is when I give a conference tours an audience, there's always like the people that are highly engaged, there's the middle people that are kind of engaged, and then there's the naysayers, right? The ones that are looking at you like, great. So what are you talking about? So when I do a conference, I focus on one of those people, and my goal is to have him like excited and nodding and like, yes, this makes sense. So I don't have that audience right now, but I'm just gonna pretend there's someone else out there that's kind of like, okay. So like the journey was, I was really afraid. I wanted to do the pivot that we did in possibility and the super hyper focused vertical and service approach to what we do, but I was afraid, like from a business perspective. Like I was afraid our pipeline was not ready. I was afraid our commercial strategy was not ready. I was not aware, what the market was, what are the people in my network that are working. And this was sort of all accelerated during the COVID story, right? Like I think the COVID pushed me to stop and think and really deep dive and consider from a personal perspective and from a company perspective, like what are we doing? Like, like I was just posting just before, or seeing a post that was on LinkedIn about levies rethinking their sustainability and the things that they're doing. So I immediately tagged, look at Revival. Like I'm just listening to them. Like this needs to be, in the conversation. And like the one thing I've understood is we have a superpower. Like as designers and creators, like we create new things. Like, and just when I look at it and I stop and I was like, wow, like we never thought about it, but like we have the possibility to create new things, to bring new things to the world. And I've always been a great fan of super power like movies and superheroes movies and Marvel. And the one thing I've learned is superheroes need to come with a big responsibility, right? The
Yeah.
way you use your superpowers need to come, with values, with responsibility, with a lot of questions to the things you create and you don't create. So that put me in a context, a personal context as a father. First, like, how am I going to talk to my kid in like 30 years or 50 years, or my friends' kids, or whoever children, like, how am I going to say, like, we did this and the impact we generated was that? Like, what is the type of legacy I want to leave? And what is the type of impact I want to generate as a company that has the superpower to create new things? So that immediately was the moment that inspired me to think, no, there's no more time for 50-50 decisions. Like there's no more time for, like, I do a little bit of bad there and I do a little bit of good there. Of course, I think sustainability will always be a compromise game. It will never be perfect. I think that's my humble opinion. Let's see if I agree with that in 10 years. But I think it needs to be the mindset to always do better and push ourselves and take that burden that Revival was talking about, to always do better. Like always do better, always rethink the way you do things, always rethink what you do, how you build, how you create, how you grow, to where you grow, when you grow, what you give back, like, right? What's this loop of, regenerating the impact that you generate so you create better wealth and better well-being. So this forced me to rethink our company strategy, and I pushed myself to do one thing, which is make this work. Do not be afraid. Make it work. And there's a topic I'll talk on the conversation at 2 p.m. But it's the forcing function methodology, which I've learned from Dan Martel, which is a performance coach for SaaS companies, which is you need to create environments or facts that will force you to do something. And so that's what I did. I forced myself to make this a reality. And then suddenly everything was clear. And it was just, I was focused on a reality, and my focus was determining my reality. So the moment I shift my focus and I concentrated on the impact I want to generate, everything flourished, and there was a lot of opportunities that arise from there. So that's one of the pivot kind of origin stories to what happened and how it happened. So I think from a inspirational perspective, I think we should all take some time to really stop and think at a personal level, like, are we comfortable with what we're doing? And I'm not saying everyone should pivot and change their personal lives. I hope they do. But I think, at a deep level, like, I think I was having a conversation with Lisa Lang yesterday, and she's a top tech entrepreneur in fashion. And she was saying, like, we've come to a place where we were forced to stay with our basics. We've learned that some of the things we were doing before, maybe not that necessary, right? Because you were forced to just stay home and keep up with your basics. So that helped us learn that maybe some of the things we were doing might not be the most necessary things. And I'm hoping that sort of continues in the journey of continuous relooping and rethinking of the things that we're doing. And hopefully that will drive us into a better path, whatever that better path is. So forcing ourselves to see the things that we were not seeing is a very important journey. And then, as I mentioned, like the idea of superpower of creation, but also the superpower to get the better things to reach more people. So how can we support the projects that are really helping drive impact and have them reach a bigger audience? Sometimes we don't need to reinvent or invent. We just need to help those that are already delivering impact to reach more people and grow their impact, right? So that was a really big, like, personal learning. And then the last one, which I think for me was really important, is I've been looking a lot at the meaning of courage. What is courage? Like, what is braveness? I'm like, this is like conversation from the heart, but like, I think courage, the braveness, I did a poll on LinkedIn, and I love LinkedIn for that, which is, you get a lot of people. I asked people, like, what is courage? Because I was like, yeah, what is courage? I went to the dictionary. I don't know if you want to maybe project your definition of what is courage, but like, there was a lot of discussion on, like, what is courageous for me might not be courageous for you, right? Like, jumping out of an airplane might be courageous for me, but might not be courageous for, like, a guy that just jumps out of airplanes, like, every day. So courageous is the ability to do something that is transformative to you, that you're not comfortable with, knowing that you might be criticized or evaluated. That was one of the definitions on LinkedIn, which was like, it might be someone else's perception of what you do that makes it also courageous. But I think at the end is like pushing yourself so extremely outside of your comfort zone and do something that you never thought was possible, knowing that that comes with a lot of potentially bad things or less good things, right? So I've been looking a lot of what is braveness, and I think COVID sort of accelerated a lot of that thought. I follow and I love the thinking of Kevin from Plan, which is a strategic design consultancy in London, and they did like this graph about what they called after COVID innovation legacy, and they talk about braveness, innovation, speed, collaboration. And I think the braveness that we had and we still have, because COVID is not over, like, that should be something we own and we transform and we amplify, because I believe the future will require, and everyone needs, more brave people around them that are pushing ourselves to do better and to continuously improve. So, that's kind of like the core story is all of these things came together and really helped me, like, and our team, to understand, like, what is our role in the world and what type of things we want to create, and what are the things that we want to help design, build, and grow. So from a professional perspective, this ignited the push and the ambition and the restlessness of the work we're doing with Possibility, knowing that we're always improving and continuously improving. And from a personal perspective, this became like our family mission as well. It's connected to my wife, it's connected to my son, of course, who's just 2 years old. So, the education component of all of this is really fundamental. So I was telling you I was going to do a surprise today, but we didn't manage. But we made a decision that every conference I will give or every talk I will give, we'll build a presentation together as a family. And instead of designing a deck, we will do with recycled materials, kind of like the posters of the topics, and we'll sketch it, we'll build it a little bit like, we're doing with this,
Yeah.
like with nature, recycle. Why do we think this is a great idea? Because this will generate discussion in the family. It's not just me like talking about it, it's us as a family rethinking. Because my wife, she's really into waste zero, sustainability. Like, we're doing a lot of things in our house as well that we're really part of this. So like, what is our role as a family as well in this journey? So I think it's really like, it was kind of I would say like a pivot moment in our lives to take this journey, and not only see it from a business perspective but also from a family perspective. Like, this needs to be first in our core, in our hearts, and only then it can spread across the other things, which is the circle of influence, which I'm sure you know about. So this is it. Like, this is sort of like our journey and our transformation, and I would love to discuss that with you. And I think we're about 15 minutes out. Sorry.
No, 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 that's fine. I think it's important for people to hear that, because it's like oftentimes we can spend hours having these sorts of conversations, but how often do we then take that back into family and talk about, today I learned this or today I learned that? And I think I love that you said that. You should definitely start sharing this and get like more people to do it, because you're right, it incites conversation. And one of the biggest things that we've seen a lot of speakers talk about is using various tools to have those sorts of conversations with younger kids, right? But you often kind of revert that to what, oh, well, we should go do it in a school. And it's like, well, what tools can we give parents to have these sorts of conversations at home as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think, that's where it really begins to matter. Like, I think if you remember the morning session, Seb and Rich were talking about like inside of school, because they got to and they still use plastic. And I think children are much more aware than they've ever been before, but they also know that they have options, choices, and a way to do things. I think what we can do in our generation, or for those who have kids, nephews, nieces, cousins, whatever, is to keep creating those sorts of interactions where we can facilitate those sorts of conversations. I as a that is a really cool. I love that.
Cool.
So when we come kind of to the final segment, and I'll check the feed for any questions, but there was a topic I did want to dive in with you on, which was, the value of your design, build, grow approach. Where do you see that going, or supporting, people? Let's take examples of who you see this summit as well, right? So how can they kind of engage more with this approach that you outlined?
I'm gonna repeat. Can you hear me well? Because I'm hearing the
Yeah.
echo. Okay.
Yeah,
Because I think your connection was a little bit broken, so I'm gonna repeat the question, see if that's what you
Yeah.
asked. So you were asking about, what's the value of our approach, and what's the type of things that we're trying to create, and how that's supportive to the clients that we're serving, or is that?
So I would say, how would you help those who have spoken at the summit, or those who are
Cool.
listening? Could they adopt this and, start to, like how you created this little interaction at home? How can they do similar things?
Cool. So yeah, let me just try to break this down. So personal level, again, personal level and professional level. Personal level, I've been really active on spending a good portion of my time talking to people. So I'm really looking forward to collaboration, to just the open discussion. Like, I think we're in this moment. Also, Lisa Lang said something really cool yesterday, which was, I hope she's listening. She said, if we can't move our bodies, we should move our brains, right? So I think, and I was like, yes, this is it. So, so I look forward to, like, if there's any people, I'm definitely going to reach to some of the speakers and people that I've talked to, but, even in the audience, like, I'm allocating a good portion of my time to discuss and, either discuss collaborations or discuss, people that are just like, Pedro, let me know a little bit more about like how you did this, like what was the take for you, like So that's at a personal level. I'm definitely going to connect a lot of the people that spoke here to people that I think might be beneficial to the things that they're trying to create. I think this bridge of gaps and connecting people is a really important part of what I love to do. And I think, again, just making sure that the right projects are reaching the right people. I would love to also, at a personal level, to learn from some of the people that are here talking about topics that I don't own and don't know, but I really would like and love to learn more about. So that's the personal level. So from a professional level, like I really look forward, to work with more companies that believe in the same mission. Like our company can really help, either companies that are in the process of rethinking their brand or rethinking their products or their services, or just in the process of creating them. Like we can be this like accelerator and this ability to really, push things forward, design, build, and grow. As we discussed also, like your project with the incubator and accelerator that you're about to ignite, I think there's like super exciting things that we could do there as well. And I think the most important message is I really look for that our company can connect with companies that are mind like it, and the focus is on the impact that we can generate, right? I think, there's this core mission on sustainability and well-being and health. So this is our two main forces of drive. So that's the kind of things that we can do from a content marketing, relationship building perspective. We have already started, and we will continue to do so, to be a platform of solutions as well. So offering the design community and talking about to the design community about better solutions in materials, processes, like things that are, they are there. You don't need to reinvent, they are there, but they need to reach the audience. So we recently, on the Industrial Design Day, which was on 29th of June, we had like a good content strategy about, materials that designers should know about. And I think that had a really interesting reach and feedback, and a lot of loop of people like, I want to hear more about this. Even people asking us, are you guys doing workshops to help us learn how to do this? And I'm like, so many things, I want to do everything, so like, okay, stay to the north, stay focused also on our capabilities. So that's one. And then, from a from a content perspective, like we have our internal content and marketing team really focus on continuously improving with what the community is recognizing of value. So the focus is, as we continue to deliver more value, not only in offering solutions, but I think, as we evolve, like bringing brains together to rethink how design, branding, and marketing can come together in this mission. And from a company perspective, like I think, the next step for us is train our team, like transformation, personal, family, friends, and then professional. So I'm putting a strategy together that we can also train our team in this transformation process, because transformation needs to flow with people, right? So that's our role as a company, to serve our people as well and to serve our teams. And then when that gets a little bit more structured, we'll move to our community. And I think after the community, we'll see where we get. But I think our global reach then is with the clients we work with, because we're working with clients, United States, we've worked with clients in Uganda, Switzerland. So, our reach is quite global. Of course, we're working with some clients in Portugal as well. And so our reach is quite global. But I think from an impact perspective, like I really love to follow the impact circle. And their influence circle, because that gives us some, make sure that we're anchored on the cores of the things we do. So. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I think that's really powerful. And I'm sure there are lots of people who heard that who are going to be reaching out to you, because this is just my personal view, but I'm sure we share the same opinion that design is where it all starts. Seriously, design is where all of the benefit, problems, everything starts. Like I remember I spent some time at like a design and first thing remember, it's also going to
I think I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So
Now I can. Yeah.
yeah, so I was told, just remember when you make stuff, you're still going to make problems. And I was like, what? It's like so self-defeating. You're like, well, why would I even try that? Right. So, but these are all evolutions in our understanding, right? It's like, just because we know we will create more problems does not mean we try to attempt to resolve. And I think, with all of the advances in the way we connect as communities and how we interact, how we collaborate, it's only going to accelerate that process. A lot of people have fear around innovation, that it takes too long. But I'm sure you would agree, Pedro, over time, you have personally seen, and so have I, because we're globalized, because we connect better, we can just innovate faster. So there definitely is room for, accelerated pace of change. So for all of you who are listening, feel free to lean on people like me or Pedro so that we can guide your visions, your missions. What are you wanting to see change out there, and how can you get people to help you along the way, right? So I think that's kind of one of the key things I wanted to make sure everybody took away. So one final thought before we close off, although we don't really close off because you join us back on the climate panel. But from your perspective, what is your message to every person out there who is looking at this story of, UN decade of change? The Secretary General has said we have 10 years to do something about this. What is your one message to them?
Cool. It's simple and complex. Start small. Start now. Just move. And this is my message to everyone. And I found a really interesting analogy, which is, imagine you're like on a high heel and you're with a bike, right? And you're like, that's really high, like, I don't know, and you don't have like a rhythm because you're not like biking, so you're just stopped. How do you go up the hill in a bike? Like, you put your first gear, which is a lighter gear, you start biking, you might go in circles, right? Because it removes the friction of going up. Then you put the second gear, and then you put the third gear, and then suddenly, like, the gear just creates momentum, and you keep going, and the movement, and then you bring more people onto you. And I'll love to use the analogy of, professional bike racers. I don't know if you've seen this video about leadership, where the team that's running in the front, it's creating and removing friction from the team that's behind. And then when the moment hits to hit the run, the person that's on the back that has been resting because it has less friction, it goes in the front and wins the race. And it's not one person that wins the race. It's a lot of people that win the race, right? Like, it's a group and it's a team. So go, start small, collaborate, listen to people, do more of this, just start. Like, that's my mission. Like, that's what I'd love to do in my rest of the life, is just get people starting and helping them do better and more. So that's it.
I love that. I think we need more people like you in the world, 100%. So thank you for all that you do. And obviously, we're going to be welcoming you back on the climate panel. But I think it was really important for people to hear your message. So thank you for sharing
Cool.
it.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you at in an hour's time.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, Nimisha. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.